Today we've got a little bit of a different format for our VINwiki video. Arne is here in the studio, and it has been 5 years now since we released the video announcing that he and Doug Tabbitt had beaten my Cannonball record. But very glad to have you back, and I was happy to have you then, as painful as it might have been.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Hey, Doug and Arne actually met at the first VINwiki warehouse telling stories. And, that was the co-driver problem is always a huge thing about the pursuit of Cannonball, because it's tough to find people that are exactly the same amount of crazy. So how did
Yeah.
you and Doug hit it off in that regard?
Well, I mean, that was your major mistake was introducing us. But yeah, that was really a key thing to our success is I was obviously very passionate about it. Doug was very passionate, and he just decided it would probably be easier to join me than to fight against me.
A coattails cannonballer, if you will.
Well, I don't know about that, but he made the smart move because obviously I had to build the car and suffer most of the expenses.
Hey, and the expenses I know were great. They were, every dollar I had and every maxed out credit card that I was able to put together to, in my mid to late 20s. But I loved the strategy that you did and the fact all the different ways that you pushed the envelope with Angry Ursula, the silver passenger car, the E63. What other cars did you think about at the time?
At the time, I knew that was the car.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's the most plain Jane, the fastest car. And like, even today, you can get these, they're down to like 25 grand. You can get these cars for. It is by far the best car that you can possibly get for the money.
Yeah. I mean, I think I paid 17 for the CL when I bought it in 2012. At that point, it was already 8 years old, and that's when I could swing. And I agree that AMG was the answer. And obviously, as you continued in your journey of Cannonball records, you ended up in the S6. I think always believing that the E63 was the ticket.
That's not believing. I'm 100% sure.
If you'd had the E63 and the same circumstances of the COVID 2539 run, how much faster do you think it would have gone?
24 hours. Yeah, I think we probably could have kissed 23 hours. Like the S6 capped out about 160 miles an hour. Like that's where the car's happy.
Right.
Like the E63 would have been like 180. Like there's a stark difference between the two. S6 is a good car and a great value, but it's just not an AMG.
Yeah. And I think there are so many things that you were just able to build from in the whole history of what Alex did, everything that we learned from the 70s and 80s runs, and obviously what I did to be able to, grow into what your record became. But certainly the large team format is something that you innovated. How many people do you think were involved day of in the run?
I mean, if you included all the scouts and such. I mean, day of, it was probably around 50, I would say.
That's amazing.
Well,
So
that's people watching.
Of
and so,
course.
like
Witnesses.
actively doing it, less than that. But it was a big undertaking. It was like there's a lot of people with eyes on it, and
Absolutely. And I think that's become the modern blueprint of how we're seeing most of these runs take place. Lots of spotters, really robust mission control, which is something that I never could have dreamt of. I didn't have enough co-conspirators in my life at the time to facilitate such a thing. But it was an amazing thing to watch unfold. And so many things that I had dreamt about that either I couldn't remotely afford or just didn't exist technologically, like being able to live stream the event and stuff like that, was so much fun to watch as it came together. It was a tough time for me. I don't mind saying that. I mean, having the record was a big part of my personal identity for good reason. I mean, it was something that I had pursued for a long time, so it could be that. You're trying to find these achievements, these automotive goals, these professional ideas that can sort of define your resume in a single word. And, having that being Cannonball for so long was a big deal. And I didn't know how much it was going to matter when I didn't hold the record, when I was a previous record holder. And fortunately, people still care, and it's been very, very nice. But I think that the fact that there has been especially since your run, so much of an explosion in the number of attempts, the progression of all the different records, the granularity that comes out, and I think that's very positive. I mean, how do you feel about the fact that, this year we've had so many different types of Cannonball runs, everybody claiming their own records and feeling like they're adding to the books?
When we originally did break your record in 2019, I don't know if it was like when you did yours, you felt like maybe it was a slow week in news because it just like exploded. And that's what happened for us. And I wasn't ready for it. I actually turned down a whole bunch of
Oh,
interviews.
sure.
Like when I did CBS this morning, I was going to Columbus, Ohio with my family, and they just like they were so adamant. I'm like, look, I'm going with my family somewhere. I can't do this interview. Like, well, where are you going? In Columbus. I'm like, well, here. They're like, do you have like an hour? Like, could we meet you? Like, we'll meet you anywhere. And they were so persistent. So I did do that when I did Inside Edition, but like I turned down a ton because like it was too much. It was for like a week. All you could hear about was this Cannonball Run record, and like I wasn't ready for that, and I didn't really want that much attention.
Fortunately, you and Doug were both able to do the interviews. Dave Black was, still had a day job and was very much not interested in that. Fortunately, being at the car dealership, it was positive generally, and so it was still wildly disruptive because I didn't really release a press release or anything like that. It just sort of spread through the articles and the stories and things like that. The article that Doug DeMuro had written for Jalopnik, being the first, the one that broke the story, was so comprehensive that it gave them a lot of information, so they, I guess, knew that they wanted to cover it, but
Right.
the only thing that they could do was call the main number for the dealership, and it shut the place down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was a big problem, but it did result in a whole lot of car sales the next
Yes,
month.
no, I mean, geez, if you can buy a Lamborghini from the Cannonball Run record holder, that did pretty well for you and
It
them. So
it served me well, and so it was a wild time, but, one of the things that I thought was really fun was as we were kind of putting together your story alongside Doug and Berkeley to try to show, to tell the story as best we could through the VINwiki medium, being able to gather all the previous record holders to have kind of that whole lineage, not unlike what Doug just did at the Minerva show in Ohio, I thought was a fun way to kind of baton pass, in your
that
direction.
that was very gracious of you. We were good friends, and we are good friends. You took it very well, and you definitely went above and beyond to make it special for us. You didn't have to go to those lengths, but to have all the previous record holders, like congratulating us was such a huge blessing. I loved it.
It was a fun week, and we were autographing 100-mile-an-hour signs and
Yeah,
spray painting everything, and it's, the ways that we celebrate around here, and I think that, putting it back in the forefront of the news in that period of time was such a powerful thing for the community, and I think the cohesion that we have and the value that so many people have found in the friendships and the relationships and the teammates that they've gotten through the Cannonball world has been an awful lot of fun. And so I continue to congratulate you on the Cannonball success
thank you.
and everything that you've done to build up the community. It's hurt a lot less than I thought. And to be honest, I kind of knew when we started forcing Cannonball down the throats of YouTube viewers that it was
Yeah.
probably going to be okay because, for the first couple years of VinWiki, Cannonball stories performed terribly. Nobody cared. No one, there was not an audience that even understood what we were talking about. And so the fact that, most of the VinWiki YouTube audience at that point had come from the, McLaren F1 maintenance nightmares video and the valet fails and me buying a Gallardo from Kimmy and all the other, like, kind of canon of VinWiki folklore stories, not Cannonball stuff. We've been trying here. Here's some more Cannonballs that you asked for, but it was a thing, but I appreciate the journey. I appreciate the friendship. Well done.
Thank
And
you.
happy anniversary.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
By now, you know that Auto Tempest is the best place to shop for your next car because they compile all the results from all the major listing sites into one place. And of course, they support the best car content on YouTube. But did you also know that Auto Tempest now has a new mobile app? That's right, in addition to using it in your browser on a computer, you can also have it for iOS or Android in the palm of your hand. So check it out and download it. I know you'll love it the way I love it, and leave them a great review.